Remember the tough small group base? The original Frustrator? Thank you so much for sharing all the success stories. It's such fun to read through your comments and read how raiders gave up, lost all the explosive to the traps, or had to spend insane amount of rockets. These are the things a builder loves to hear. Having reached 100k views, I felt it's time to bring the concept of double-stacked unlootable trap loot rooms into a clan base for big boys. Meet the Grand Frustrator. It features an open corridor, triple-stacked unlootable trap loot rooms, which still employ those traps that make raiders lose their boom. A very well protected TC, alongside 6 external TCs to prevent griefing. Insanely sneaky spawn rooms using Zedge's latest exploit. And roof access. As I said, this base is for big boys. It costs 32k stone, 66k metal fragments and 168 HQM, with an upkeep of 9k stone, 17k metal frags and 47 HQM. For that price tag, of course, you can expect proper protection. Reaching the main TC requires 39 rockets in the ideal case. Thanks to the external TCs, griefing the base requires 79 rockets. Raiding all main loot rooms should cost close to 100 rockets, and to completely loot and grief the base we might be talking about 200 plus rockets. Shortly after I released the original Frustrator design, I began looking for a suitable bigger footprint. And as part of that I also experimented with the basic clan base footprint. However, the design did not migrate well because splash damage would open 2 loot rooms at once. But then, a while ago, I found the solution: triple stacking the loot rooms. This means that rockets will open only the top compartment. After that, raiders have to choose one of the loot rooms to continue the raid. And to limit the use of inefficient half walls, the main corridor gets lifted to the 2.5 floor, which also elegantly creates 2 layers of ceilings, while most of the walls remain full walls. The base features 2 entrances with good visibility. Shotgun traps are ready to meet any wannabe beach hills trying to go deep on you. Above the entrance we find boxes and another shotgun trap ready to hit people in the head if they jump in. A corridor with furnaces and workbenches winds around a solid core, which is designed that way to prevent tunneling into the base from the top. These turrets can be very effective in holding down raiders if they try to ladder into the main corridor. Below we find the chutes which lead to the triple stacked unlootable trap loot rooms. Each of the compartments has its own set of traps to send welcome charges at raiders. Behind the single doors we find multi-purpose rooms such as this bedroom, which hides beds underneath the floor grill. No worries, when loading in your avatar will spawn on top of them. A second entrance makes it hard to lock you in. And the TC can be reached by a chute that is protected by 2 auto turrets, which cannot be hit by splash damage. The TC is hidden behind plenty of doors for maximum protection, but still can easily be accessed to feed the hungry beast. Back upstairs in the corridor, where the auto turret is missing, you find the access port to the battlements. They use a nice mix of roofs and overhang windows so you can engage enemies near and far from decent cover. Due to the size of the Grand Frustrator, I strongly recommend building it from a starter base. Find a piece of land that fits the following footprint. Please note, I will be upgrading every building block to its final tier to make the video more comprehensive. Pick a triangle and place the TC there to claim the area. A half-height triangle in front of the TC will make it unlootable without destroying the window frame. For now, we will operate out of the core hexagon. Feel free to place temporary items such as a workbench to speed up the building process. Of course, you might not have these turrets yet, feel free to add them later. The next goal will be to build the outer walls so you can build in peace. Since the entrances will be on the second floor, we start with the airlocks. Simply mirror the airlock on the other side. I used third-person view to provide good overview and make the build easy to follow. I used no clip and sped up simple and repetitive parts to keep the video interesting. Remember, you can always stop it, jump back, or slow down the video. With the ceiling being completed, the base is now sealed. However, to make the build easier to follow, I will remove the ceiling again. In-game, you would of course not do that. Here, we're placing full walls around what will become the main loot rooms. Then, we add half-height triangle floor tiles and upgrade the triangle ones to wood. These will later help to construct the loot rooms. Close off the triangles with full walls and then a ceiling. Now add half-height walls. These are expensive but necessary to protect the loot rooms from splash damage. Now we fill the core with walls and half-height triangles before we seal it off with a ceiling. For the outer honeycomb, use 2 full-height sheet metal walls. If you're clever, also add ceilings into the outer triangles. Since I forgot to do so, I will have to do it now. Now close off all the outer honeycomb with ceilings. On top of the squares, we build doorways with 2 boxes on top of them. These can house non-important but frequently needed items such as tools or materials. Code lock them to make them unlootable. Add in the remaining outer honeycombing. The open spots will become the entrances to the chutes that lead into the main loot rooms. If you can, place an auto turret on top of each of the triangles. But note that I left out the one turret on the side where we left the ceiling open. This will become the way to the roof. Complete the center of the base by filling the core with walls and half-height ceilings. And let me quickly rebuild the ceiling, which you hopefully left intact. Now fill in the ceiling above the corridor. It's not mandatory, but consider adding half-height stone walls to better protect against raiding from the top. If you have trouble placing one in these locations, close the garage doors below. Now they should place without problem. Next, we make the roof entrance more secure. I've not done it in the video, but consider adding bags and boxes with emergency gear up here. Use shotgun traps to make it harder to go deep in case raiders go through the roof. This completes the honeycombing. Now let's look at potential loot room designs. Ladder placement is very important. If they are placed sufficiently low, raiders won't be able to scout out the traps without getting targeted. Find the position where the ladder tilts, then move it down until it sticks out a bit. To make it even safer but less convenient for your group, move the ladder further down until it sticks out a second time. First, I show you the recommended loot room design. Remember those wooden triangles? Now they will come in handy. Place a shotgun trap central onto 4 carpets. The carpets raise it and make sure that less pellets gets absorbed by the low wall. Before upgrading the ceiling and the low wall, always verify that you can reach all the boxes and traps. Move these traps a bit forward. They will be more vulnerable to splash damage, but they will also be more likely to target raiders who jump down the chute. It might help to replace the floor to be able to crouch into the corner. If the traps are placed correctly, raiders may already die mid-flight. Proper placement also prevents that raiders crouch and avoid triggering the traps altogether, as seen in one of the videos where Sir Winter raided the Frustrator. One alternative is to use an auto turret in place of the central shotgun trap. Turrets have the advantage that they are more durable and keep working if raiders obtain building privilege. Another variation is to add a window instead of two low walls. The main difference is that the second compartment will only house one shotgun trap, but the bulletproof glass provides extra protection. Use window shutters on the inside to hit unsuspecting raiders with a nasty surprise. The chute that leads to the TC requires a different design. Use a garage door or even armored double doors so that you will be able to enter the core hexagon. Place traps onto the ceiling . Just make sure that you will be able to move in and out. Together with the auto turrets, this should make the chute a real challenge to raid. Since the door represents a weak spot, I recommend to make the traps in the upper compartment even more potent, so that raiders are ideally killed mid-flight. A flame turret can do well as it slows raiders down. If you place the ladder as far down as possible, raiders will have a very hard time to scout out the traps. And if you want to go to the extreme, just leave out the boxes and fill the compartment with only traps. Some of you may say that the unlootable design is outdated because of the counter-exploit that PrinceBits found. However, please consider that raiders first need to get all 7 TCs, then they need to apply the technique to 30+ boxes, and from what I've heard it's very tedious and does not always work reliably. This means a lot of time and material spent on a very frustrating task. If raiders destroy the boxes but not the low walls, it's still possible to make the loot rooms useful again. You can easily replace the central shotgun trap. To replace the boxes, put down campfires. Then place boxes as close to the low wall as you can. If done correctly, you can reach the code logs as shown in this video. The item placement is up to you, but I'd like to make a few suggestions. Repair bench and research table nicely fit into the entrances. Workbenches and furnaces can go into the corridor. We can turn these open squares into spawn rooms using one of Zetch's latest tricks. First, place a half-height floor frame. Then place 2 beds. And close it off with a floor grill. No worries, you will be able to spawn. In this locker and this box, people can keep their gear and personal items. You can even place a second box on top of the floor grill. If you spawn inside one of the beds, you will be immediately placed on top of the floor grills. If storage is more important than bedrooms, you can turn one of these rooms into a loot room with 7 large boxes. For the roof, I recommend simple battlements. Use temporary twig floors to place a lowered floor tile for the lowered window overhangs. They go on one of the triangles. Build 2 roofs next to them. Repeat this pattern 5 more times to complete the battlements. I did not build an elaborate shooting floor to keep costs down. Further, most raids happen offline anyway, and in case of an online raid, shooting floors have the downside that you cannot engage raiders effectively once they have flown into the base. I consider flanking bases much more suitable for the job. If after all these shotgun traps you still have excess gears, you can compartmentalize the main corridor with more garage doors. If you have more HQM to spare, consider upgrading, in order of importance, the floor tiles between the second and the third compartment of the loot rooms, the chutes so that raiders cannot easily enter from the outside, and the low walls. In any case, I always recommend that you adjust the base to your needs. May the design serve you well. Evil Wurst, out.